Hello, friends. Welcome back to Love Wrestling. Spencer Love here with the first ever Love Wrestling two-time guest. Yeah, we've come far along enough to be wanting to circle back to great people, and it's pretty cool that, you know, Deaner, the more things change, the more things stay the same, right? Last time we talked was a very different Cody Deaner on the other end of things. I literally remember that we launched our interview with you the day you came out on Impact with your head shaved. So, you know,
yeah, man,
what can you say about my timing of things? But the more things change, you're getting back into the live speaking, the virtual events more than ever. And I'm very excited to chat with you on both end of things. But before we get there, how are you? How are things? How have you kept up over about the last year of again, very different circumstances in life?
Yeah, man, I'm surviving. I'm just trying to survive, but now turning the corner and wanting to thrive rather than just survive, you know, kind of learning how to kind of navigate the world that we're in and deal with kind of everything that's kind of getting thrown at humanity on a daily basis with COVID and just everything that's going on, you know, like just kind of dealing with that has been a whirlwind, especially as a father with 4 children, trying to navigate the world with them and everything. So it's been a very interesting year, which has been a year. I didn't realize it's been a year since we talked, man. And right? I feel it's been actually a full year, and I feel honored to be the first 2-time guest on your show. I'm feeling honored right now, feeling excited and doing well. Anytime that I can just be around another human being and talk about wrestling, then my day is going great. So,
dude, and it's always appreciated when I get the opportunity to talk to a fellow Riders fan.
Yeah, dude. That's right.
Always, man, always. But I'm certain that there are going to be many people, especially as a guy from Edmonton, that like tuned out as soon as I said I was a Riders fan. But say, Levy, we're going to bring him back in because, again, you've got a lot of great stuff going on, whether wrestling, whether in your personal life. Of course, the Inspired to Inspire event taking place on January 13th. And I'm super excited to chat with you on that because, again, the last time we chatted was when you were building really to your major fundraisers with Rumball. Now you're doing this with the Lansdowne Children's Center. It's just a lot of great stuff going on that end of things. Take me through why you want to do something like this, why you're really making it, again, another staple, and why Lansdowne specifically.
Yeah, so I've been kind of working on behind the scenes on trying to think of different ways, like I said, rather than just survive, how do we thrive in the environment that we're in right now? And unfortunately, a lot of Canadians will know what I'm talking about when I say, like, there's restrictions here. You know, we can't run things the way we used to currently. You know, fingers crossed. Right. I have full hope that we will be able to do things the way we've always done eventually. But as of right now, we can't. So knowing that and just realizing, okay, rather than just succumbing to the way the world is and just giving up, no, let's move forward and let's just think of some new, different, exciting ways to still get positive things out there, because now more than ever, it's needed. I'm meeting more, I know of more and more young kids and meeting more and more young kids and families that are struggling. I mean, this has been a very difficult year for so many people for so many different reasons.
Yeah, man.
And rather than, like I said, take that kind of gut punch of that reality and just kind of keeling over and giving up, it's like, no, what can we do about this? And the only thing I know to do about it is to try to do what I've always done, and that's focus on the positive and try to spread positivity. Doesn't mean that you ignore the negative, but we can still try to bring positivity into any situation that we're in. So when I start to talk about those types of things and that mentality, I try to remember that I am someone of influence in the position that I'm in as a professional wrestler. I inspire people, and just that idea and it inspires me. So that's hence Inspired to Inspire. I want to inspire other people, young people, to try to still make a difference, a positive difference in their communities too. And I want to focus on kids, because that's, you know, the people that I'm seeing in my life that need it the most right now is families and children. So I'm running this event. It's a virtual event, so I can literally my audience is worldwide, and I'm selling virtual tickets that start at $9.99. And what we're going to do at this event on January 13th is people just go to codydeaner.com. All the information is there. They can go in to start reading what it's all about, and they can purchase a ticket. And at this virtual event, I'm going to share some stories with them, inspirational stories from my life, the same types of stories that I share at schools when I go in to speak at schools. Now, a year ago, I wasn't as prepared to be able to run an event like this, but over the last year, I've been running my motivational speaking business through my computer. I'm going in and speaking to hundreds, thousands of kids, but I'm unfortunately not in the room with them. I'm talking to them over the computer, but I'm still able to get the message out there. And through the cool software that I have, I'm able to interact with them, and they can ask questions, and I can talk to them and call them by name. So I'm going to be doing that at this event. I'm going to be sharing some stories, letting questions come in where they can ask me anything about my life, and I'll be talking to families. And then I also have like different tiered tickets. So what I wanted to do was like, okay, you can $9.99, you can join, your whole family can kind of gather around your device and talk to me and listen to some fun stories. We're going to have some raffles, some prizes to be won as well. Might have a special guest or two. And then I'm also decided, okay, I'll have some different tiered tickets. So people can either, if they buy another, the gold ticket will get you like actually a Zoom meeting one-on-one. We'll sit down face-to-face with your family, and we'll have a meeting and I'll actually talk to the kids face-to-face. Or a silver ticket will get you a personal video message, where I'll send a personal message to you for a family or friend, whoever might want that. I'll send that your way too. So try to throw in some bonuses too, and the portion of these proceeds are going to Lansdowne Children's Center, like you talked about. So they're an organization that I've already done some fundraisers in the past. They are such an amazing charity. So they help people with special needs get involved in their community programs, and they've been really versatile the last couple of years with COVID and the pandemic and things being shut down. They've still been able to kind of push forward and still get out there and help the people in the community that need it. And I learned about this organization through one of my wrestling fans, because all of my fundraisers through Giv'er for Charity are connected to one of my wrestling fans. And this one is connected to a young girl named Reagan. Did I tell you about Rags the last time we did an interview?
No, you didn't. We were talking about how the rum ball impacted your logo. We never got into really Lansdowne.
Okay. So I talked to you about Christopher and logo and Christopher last time. So Reagan, I met her at a wrestling show. And I was at this event and running my merch table, and I do my merch table before, during, and after. Like I'm at my merch table as much as possible, interacting with fans, hawking my t-shirts, doing my thing, right? And so like before the show, I'm selling t-shirts and hats. Intermission, I'm selling t-shirts and hats. As soon as the last match is done, I'm at the table selling t-shirts and hats. So I'm in the main event. I lose that night. And I go to the merch table. I lose. Oh, boo. Oh, that's too bad. I go to the merch table. Oh, still going to sell some t-shirts, whatever. So I'm sweating, and I'm at the merchandise table. And there's this young girl that comes up to the table, and she's bawling her eyes out, like weeping.
Oh,
I'm like, oh, sweetie, like, it's okay. I wasn't expecting this, because I was actually like a heel on the show. I was a bad guy. So like, but this young girl's like crying, and I'm like, oh, it's okay. What's your name? She's like, oh, I'm Reagan. Like, what's the matter? Like what's going on? And she's like, you lost. And she was like crying because I lost, and I was her favorite wrestler. So I'm like, oh, it's okay. Come here. So I take her to my table. I just got these new like pink hats. So I'm like, which hat do you like? And she's like, she points at the pink one. So I pick it up. I sign it to her. I give it to her. I sign a poster for her. Now her tears are away. She's smiling. We have this great little conversation. And by the time we're done, I look up, and her mom's crying. And I'm like, why are you crying?
I was going to say, it can't be because I lost.
Yeah. I'm like, why are you crying? And she kind of like takes her a second to compose herself, and she goes, my daughter Reagan, she's autistic, and she doesn't talk to many people. She doesn't talk to people, and I don't know why, but she's talking to you. She doesn't normally do this.
Oh, man.
So I was like, now I start to cry. So like we've got these three people by this merchandise table after a pro wrestling main event. I'm sweating and crying, and I'm just feeling very honored. Like,
of course,
I don't know why Reagan is feeling comfortable with me, but I know children, that are autistic, and I know a lot about, that issue. And I know that if someone that kind of suffers from that and goes through those types of things with that's on the spectrum, if they do want to talk to you, like, that's special, because like I said, like, that was a special thing, because I know that it's hard for her to interact and talk with other people. And for whatever reason, she's talking to me. Like, I took that very seriously, and that was like a place of honor for me. So I kept talking to her, and I would see her at shows, and would start messaging her mom, and she would always want to know, like, what event are you going to be at? So we became friends, and she'd come to all the shows. And then when I started Giv'er for charity, one of the people I thought of was Reagan. When I decided I want to do some fundraisers with kids, Reagan was one of the first ones that came to mind. So I talked to her and talked to her mom at a show and said, is there any organizations that, have helped you, as you were kind of trying to overcome different obstacles in your life? And they told me immediately about the Lansdowne Children's Center and how they very much helped Reagan when she was young. So I reached out to them and had a wonderful conversation with a lady named Angie Turnbull at Lansdowne, who was very taken aback when I first called her and was wondering and I sent her a picture of me, and she's like, why is this crazy bearded pro wrestler calling me to tell me that he wants to just raise money and give me a bunch of, and just give me money? Like, what is this? She was like, she was just very like, what?
Well, and I was going to ask, man, that like that ties in, because I was going to ask on the Violent by Design end, like, your personal life and your professional life are wildly different, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So how do you reconcile that? And you tie me in nicely there, in that, like, it's weird too.
Yeah, man. It was easier about a year ago. Like, when I was most events I was on, I was a baby face. I was kind of the fun loving bearded redneck dude, and I was usually the good guy everywhere that I wrestled. And it was one of the things that I was quite actually apprehensive about when I decided that I was going to switch things up, switch up my look, and become a heel on television. It actually wasn't an easy decision for a variety of reasons, but one of those reasons was I was thinking of Reagan. I was thinking of Christopher and all these kids that were my friends. And I'm like, what are they going to think when they see me on TV as this bad guy? And I actually, because I have a relationship with them, I was actually able to message them and their parents and be like, hey, what did Reagan think of me on TV last night when I was beating that guy up and biting him? Like, is she scared? Is she okay that Cody looks different now? It's like, oh, she loves it. She thinks your new tights look cool. She thought it was the best. I'm like, okay, awesome. Cool. Like, like most people, even younger kids, it's different than when I was young. Like, when I was young, I was all in. I bought into it. My parents didn't tell me, like, hey, that this is all kind of a show and a performance. It's different now. The cat's out of the bag. The toothpaste out of the tube. You can't put it back in the tube. It's out there, and even young kids know. And when they watch it, they're like, okay, these guys are characters. They're playing a character. It's like I get to watch this real life movie happen in front of me. He's the good guy. He's the bad guy. I'm going to boo that guy, cheer that guy. And then I'll play along. And then, but I'll also, go talk to the mean guy at the merchandise table that I booed and talk to him and buy his picture too. Like, it's a very weird world and just a weird community that's hard for people to understand. But I was a little bit apprehensive about it. But no, I've been able to still continue doing what I do. And if anything, a lot of times it's actually it's like an added element of intrigue to the casual fan or the casual person that they know what Lansdowne Children's Center is. Maybe there's somebody that their children or their families involved in that program. They learn about this event through Lansdowne, and they're like, oh, this Cody Deaner guy. And then they look at the stuff I'm doing, and then they see like a side-by-side picture on my website of this crazy dude, and then the smiling guy, and they're like, what the heck? Who is this? Like, what is that? What's going on? It's like, it's immediately like, okay, I got to know more about this dude, because that's the same person. They two different pictures, two different personalities. How does this going to work? I'm intrigued. Tell me more. So yeah, I look at it that way, you know, rather than a detriment. It's a positive, because it's
well, and the cool thing
focus
too
of
is
intrigue.
like, and the cool thing is like in this day and age, like you said, people are more connected than ever. And I would have to assume that you've got people from Impact that are fans, obviously, of your work, not just now or over the past year, but even prior to that are maybe tuning into the website and checking out what you're doing and saying, oh, I'd never heard of the Lansdowne prior to this. Let's check out what they're doing. And even if, you know, it's cliche to say, but even if you inspire one person to do something extra, then you've sort of hit the mark, right?
That's the way I think about it, man, especially during this time. Like, if I can, you know, I have no idea how many people are going to come to this event. This is the first time I've done one of these. I'm considering, if this first one goes really well, a lot of the other charity organizations that I work with, I'm going to reach out to them and be like, hey, do you guys want to do one? And I'll start doing, and it's cool because I get to mold and morph the two things that I'm really passionate about outside of wrestling, in speaking and my charity work. But then I also get to bring in wrestling because I'm telling some wrestling stories. So it's like all my passions kind of come together into one thing. So I have no idea how this is going to work. I might have 2 people show up at this thing. I might have 2,000. I have no idea. I might be doing 2,000 Zoom calls with 2,000 families. I don't know, depending on how many tickets we have, but I'll make it work. But no matter how many people come, if I can just, you know, inspire one kid, give one kid a smile, or change their day where they were maybe having a bad day and now they're having a good day because they got to hear some of Cody's stories. Legit, man, like that's worth it to me. So that's the ultimate goal. Let's just put some smiles on people's faces, and in the meantime, raise some money for an awesome cause and bring awareness to an awesome organization like Lansdowne Children's Center.
Absolutely, man. You've already mentioned maybe a couple of the hesitations, but I have to ask, whose idea was it to shave your head?
Mine.
All right. Well done.
Yes.
Because I would have to assume that wasn't, like you said earlier, like an easy decision, but even outside of all the charitable work, like character-wise and what you'd done previously, like that couldn't have been a snap for you.
No. So a lot of the stuff that was, it was like a mixture of, it was my idea and ultimately my decision, but I was able to come to that decision with some conversations with different people. And one of those people was a good friend of mine, Eric Young, who's the leader of Violent by Design and has been a friend of mine for over 20 years. And one of the things that we talked about, and he really hammered home, he's like, if we really want this to be effective, this transformation, when you come out for that very first time transformed, you have to look like a different human being. If you can make yourself look completely different, that's going to get people's attention. And it's going to be way more effective. Like, I could just, you know, change my tights, you know, and trim my beard a little bit and keep the long hair and essentially kind of look like the same guy. That's going to have an effect, but it's not going to have the same effect that it's going to be if you completely change. Whoa. And that's why I decided to do it. I'm like, you're right. I have to change everything. And let's do a complete 180 from what I was doing before. And it got thrown out there to shave my head. And one of the ideas was actually, I don't know if I've talked about this in interviews before, but I'll give you the backstory here, Spencer, is that the original idea was actually to shave my head in the ring. And cool. But as we started thinking about it, it sounds like a good idea, but the problem was we were in the middle of the pandemic and there was no audience. So what could have been a really cool in-ring thing where you're getting, you know, instant feedback from the fans, that's not happening. We would do it in the middle of the ring in an empty arena. And I'm like, that is going to suck. You know, in-ring promos are hard enough, but then they're also exponentially harder when there's no audience. Right. So like, you know, it makes it weird. And then to try to do something like that when there's no one there, I just knew that is not going to be as effective as if we can do something that's produced and different and really tells the story as to why this is happening. And I had all these ideas. I morphed those in with Eric Young, who had a lot of great, cool ideas for Violent by Design. We kind of pulled them together. I wrote something. He wrote something. We sent that to the production people, the creative team. Like, yep, we're doing that. So all the transformation videos of me in the prison and him brainwashing me and doing all that stuff, that was all written by me. A lot of that verbiage was written by Eric Young, and then a mixture with David Sahadi and the creative team. Like,
they were incredible, man.
Dude, yeah. It was like I had this vision of like what it could be in my mind, and then the cool thing about Impact Wrestling is it's a collaboration. It's not just like, hey, you're this character, here, you do it. It's a total like team effort. So I had this kind of vision, knowing how amazing Eric Tompkins and David Sahadi and all the people in production are there. As soon as I told them the idea, like, yep, I know exactly what we're going to do and how we can do that. And they made it even cooler and even more awesome than I ever could have imagined. And it was a total team effort. And yeah, man, ended up being way better than just me shaving my head in the middle of the ring. So it's led to even some other cool vignettes and different really neat things we've been able to do production wise. It's been a fun, creative year on the wrestling front, to say the least.
Yeah, man. And you know me, I'm always apt to putting people over when I've got the opportunity to. And I know you've talked about it a little bit when you talked to Denise Salcedo a couple of months ago, but like, just talk to me about that creative process with Impact, because it's even been cool for me where like, it's not really so much, I guess, a creative process on the business end, for lack of a better way to put it. But like you said, you guys coming with ideas and bringing that sort of stuff to them. Like, how much does that mean to you as a guy who's worked in the industry and worked pretty well anywhere you can at this point?
Yeah, man, I very much don't take it for granted and make sure that I stay in this kind of sense of gratitude at all times. Even when, sometimes, I'm having the best day and you're like, oh man, I'm just not having a good day. The travel sucked today, or, my body's hurting and whatever. But then to be able to know that any idea that's presented from the creative team or brought forth by anybody, it's like, this is an idea and this idea is up for discussion and everybody gets to have their input, because the more people that have some input to this, the better it's going to be. And we know that if the input's from me and Eric Young and Joe Doring and Rhino or anybody else that's involved, we are more invested in that than anybody else is, because it's our careers and what we have. So the fact that the creative team is just so open to discussing those ideas, it's such a blessing. And knowing that that's not the way things operate in all wrestling companies, it definitely operates that way in Impact Wrestling. So I'm totally grateful for that, and really just makes me appreciate Impact Wrestling that much more. Every time I get to go to work, it's a really, really cool team effort.
Especially when you get the guys, you've mentioned Eric Young and you've worked with him for 20 years, but Rhino, you worked on with the Indies for, a decade plus. And Joe Doring, I think it was, you were there for his first week or even his first day of training. Like, getting the opportunity to work with guys like that, either break it down into one by one or give me all three, Deaner. But what's it mean to you to work with those three guys specifically? And, Rhino notwithstanding, maybe on the opposite end of things at this point.
Yes, totally. Yeah, man. It's just been so cool, because I don't know, man. It's how to explain this. I like to try to explain things to people that, like, even a non-wrestling fan, like anybody I think can relate. If you know nothing about wrestling, you can relate to going into work, and sometimes you go into work and if there's even one person, say you work in an office, there's one person that's a couple desks away from you, they're always negative, and they're toxic, and that toxic attitude can like spread throughout a team of people and through an organization or company so fast. And I've seen that happen before. And the really amazing thing about Impact is that toxic person doesn't exist. Like, the Impact Wrestling roster is the best roster in professional wrestling. And I'm not just saying that because I work for them. It's because I just know that it's true. And we're family. And the things that the celebrations that happen backstage for people's birthdays or life events that fans only wish they knew about, it's like literally there's a celebration almost every television taping. There's some type of celebration and cake for somebody for something that's happened in their life, and it's positive. Like a couple tapings ago, it was like 3 days, and like there's a couple celebrations for people's life events, and like I cried like every day of those tapings. Like I cried tears of joy. It was very weird taping, but like it was amazing. And I was like walked away from it going, man, like I'm part of a family here of Impact Wrestling. Man. Like, so take that a step further, you know, guys like Eric Young, Joe Doring, Rhino, like they're part of my family. And to be able to work with those guys that I have so much respect for and are like, I consider they're part of my family. I mean, you can't ask for a better work environment than that, man. You just can't. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's true, man. It's just, we're a family, and getting to work with your family and just to have positivity every day you're at work. That's a blessing.
It answers my question perfectly, man. And I think it does a pretty good sales job, but I'm going to ask you for another one because, of course, earlier today, it was announced that you and are in a 10-man hardcore war at Hard to Kill, among many other great matches. You know, you look at Deanna and Mickey in a Texas death match. You look at the triple threat for the Impact World Championship. So maybe even, you know, your match specifically, of course, but why are people inclined? Why should they? Why do they have to tune into Hard to Kill next month, in your humble opinion?
In my opinion, let's start in broad terms with just the pay-per-view and the company as a whole. Nobody does pay-per-view like Impact Wrestling. We only have so many. We have like Impact Plus specials and stuff, but when we do like a live on Fight TV exclusively on pay-per-view event, kind of our tent pole events, like a Slammiversary, a Bound for Glory, a Hard to Kill. Like when we do those events, they are big. And something happens on those shows that people are not expecting. We go that extra mile to make it really special for the fans. Yeah. That's what's going to happen at Hard to Kill. Something crazy and fun is going to happen that's going to rock the wrestling world. That's just what we do at Impact Wrestling, you know? So that's kind of the event as a whole. Now, this hardcore war that I'm in with these 10 guys, I mean, dude, like, look, talk about, it's a stacked card,
right?
But like you could build an entire pay-per-view with just the 10 guys that are in that match. You could build a whole event. You just take those 10 guys, plug them in different areas. You have a whole event just with those 10 guys. We're all actually going to be there all at once in one match. So I think that's what's cool, man. You've got 10 guys that have all, you know, busted their ass and been in this business a long time, yet all still have something to prove. And one of the things to prove is, okay, this is Impact Wrestling. We do the best pay-per-views in the business. Let's steal the show. And with those 10 guys that are in that ring, I think we got an opportunity to steal that show big time on Hard to Kill on January 8th, Dallas, Texas. It's going to be awesome. It's also my first time in Texas. And, you know, they say, you know, in Texas, everything's bigger in Texas. So it's time. We're going to go big or go home in Texas with Hard to Kill, man. So was that a good enough sales job for you or what?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah, brother, as they say in the industry, man. Let me tell you, if I wasn't tuning in already, I would be purchasing my pay-per-view, my Fight TV subscription, whatever it may take to tune into Hard to Kill. Friends, make sure you do so. Make sure you're not only supporting great pro wrestling, but the great people in it. And, you know, with guys like Deaner and the other individuals from Impact I've been lucky enough to chat with, it's pretty hard to vouch against there being great people in Impact Pro Wrestling. Deaner, always a blast, man. And I always appreciate your time, whether it's on the pro wrestling end, whether it's on the public speaking end, anything in between. So obviously you mentioned January 8th, but if people want to tune in then on January 13th, of course, for Inspired to Inspire, let the people know how they can do so for either, any or all.
Yeah. So if you want to watch the pay-per-view, which I highly recommend, that's through Fight TV. FITE. Just Google that. It's available right now. You get for pre-order. You can get ready to watch that live on pay-per-view January 8th. For my virtual event, Inspired to Inspire, the easiest way, just go to CodyDeaner.com. Then one of the first graphics you're going to see on there is my Inspired to Inspire banner. You click on that, it'll bring you to the media release, tell you all about why I'm doing it, what it's all about. Then there'll be a link there to go purchase your tickets, and you can see the gold, silver, bronze kind of level of tickets and what's included with all of those. And then you'll register, you'll pay your money, and then I'll email you, and then I'll be in touch with you with the private link that'll be just for you as well as a VIP guest, and we'll have a blast on January 13th. So all the information is at CodyDeaner.com for Inspired to Inspire.
Friends, and as someone who's been lucky enough to tune into a couple of the presentations Cody's done over the last little bit, of course, I've never had the opportunity to be there live, but I've told you last time, I'll told you this time that next time you're in Edmonton, I can guarantee I'll see you live and in the flesh. But until then, January 13th, I guarantee you that I will be tuned in, and I hope that you guys do too, because Cody Deaner, again, not only a great professional wrestler, a great individual in it, and those are the sort of people we love to support here on Love Wrestling. If you want to find the latest and greatest on what we're up to, make sure you head to Love Wrestling CA wherever audio is played or video is viewed. If you want to get it all in one fell swoop, put a dot in between Love Wrestling and CA. You'll head to our website and get everything in one fell swoop. For Violent by Designs, Cody Deaner, which is a weird way to close out such a positive conversation, I've been Spencer Love. Thanks for tuning in, friends. We'll see you on the next one.